What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Alright, so you may have heard about these reports that surfaced recently, and these came from reputable news sources, where Mark Jackson was apparently fired by Madison Square Garden for he was supposed to be a fill-in substitute for Walt Clyde Frazier on the days that he is off. And I'm assuming at this stage anyway, Walt Clyde Frazier has to be pushing 80. So probably an eventual successor anyway. You know, not to say that I think that Walt Clyde Frazier's at his death's door or nothing like that. I think he's in great health and and has many more years of productivity. I'm just saying, I get the sense that there was some sort of possible contingency plan in place for him to ultimately succeed Walt Clyde Frazier. But the reports were that he was fired. And then you heard all of these rumors. The same rumors that have been beleaguering Mark Jackson for about 10 to 15 years about his personal beliefs. About supposedly him, I don't want to go too far in some of this stuff, but his personal beliefs about certain lifestyles, his religious beliefs. There was even some reports that supposedly he was trying to indoctrinate Steph Curry into Christianity. It's funny. It's supposed to be a Christian nation, but they talk about Mark Jackson like he's some religious fanatic. And there was other things too that were out there. But anyway, all of that was false. All of this was false. So apparently, Mark Jackson turned down the job for personal reasons. Now, Mark Jackson has largely been silent on a lot of the allegations and speculations that have come out about him over the years, but it's gotten to him. And I'm going to play a clip from Stephen A. Smith's podcast when he segues into this whole situation with Mark Jackson. So I'm going to play it right now for you all.
Well, he's made news for another reason. Because Mark Jackson was supposed to be calling games, that is, for the MSG networks. But it didn't happen. It was planned for Jackson to help fill in for Walt Clyde Frazier when he had nights off. And because that didn't transpire as people expected, there were numerous reports out that Mark Jackson had been fired. He had accepted the job. He was going to be calling games for the New York Knicks. And then all of a sudden, something must have happened. So Mark Jackson is not going to be calling games in place of Walt Clyde Frazier on the New York Knicks. Well, that's according to reports. That's according to reporters and news publications. I'd rather hear from Mark Jackson himself. And so should you.
Come on, man. Come on. At some point, the lies have got to stop. The lies have got to stop. I've sat back year after year after year listening to lies, questioning me as a man and my integrity. What I stand for, what I was raised on, has been questioned. And I sat back and didn't say anything. My guy, the coach, the legend, Coach Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, has a great quote that I listened to just recently. He said he lost the address to the high road. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting closer because there's a side of me that's fed up, that's upset that you keep on smearing my name. Today a report came out that I was fired or dismissed from calling Knick games. Honored and privileged to have an offer bestowed upon me to back up the legend Walt Clyde Frazier calling Knick games. Over a week ago, I turned that job down. You heard what I said. More than a week ago, I turned the job down due to the fact that it wasn't the ideal conditions it wasn't the ideal time for me.
You know, in the interest of full disclosure, because we have an obligation to be responsible at all times to the best of our ability, particularly when you've been in this business as long as I have.
Now, I'm going to stop it right here. I'm going to replay it, but because of YouTube's guidelines, I want to interject my opinion into this, so it's not like I'm, you know what I'm saying, violating a lot of copyright situations. But Stephen A. Smith is getting ready to tell you the hypocrisy of many of the people that are in journalism who are attacking Mark Jackson for what he apparently or supposedly did in the past, while having things that they've done in their past hidden. Okay? I have a suspicion about who he could possibly be talking about, but I'll hint at that at the end of this rant by Stephen A. Smith. It's a long one, but I just wanted to put my voice in here, you know, so I don't want to make it seem like it's just an uninterrupted stream of his material. But anyway, let me get back to this. Give me 1 second.
As long as I have. So, the first order of business is to say that Mark Jackson is not only a former colleague, he's a friend. I've known him for many years. I wasn't blessed and fortunate enough to know him when I was growing up in Hollis, Queens, New York, and he was right down the block near Murdoch Avenue in O'Connell Park, where he grew up just a few blocks away. I looked up to him. I was never the player that he was. I was never the basketball mind that he was. And everybody has to find their own way. But one of the greatest honors of my career is that I've come to know him and to be able to call him a friend. So I will openly confess to you, to everybody out there, that, yeah, you can accuse me of a bit of bias. Fair enough. But what's happening to him and what has been happening to him is utter bullshit. And y'all are full of shit. And you know exactly who the hell I'm talking to when I say that. Every chance you get, you throw out rumors about him. And I'm not going to even denigrate or sully his name by bringing up what those rumors have been over the years. It spanned years. Nobody ever takes the time to say, well, if it were true, even if those rumors were true, oh, it was years ago. It was years ago. Now, I remember when he got fired from the Golden State Warriors. And there's not much shade we can throw on the Golden State Warriors because the successor was Steve Kerr, who happens to be one of the top 5 coaches in the history of basketball so far as I'm concerned. But you got people who despised Mark Jackson, who would tell you Klay Thompson and Steph Curry may have never been what they ultimately became had it not been for Mark Jackson and the tutelage he provided and how it set the stage for Steve Kerr to piggyback off of and ultimately elevate not just the franchise, not just them, but himself to astronomical heights as a coach and a basketball mind in the game of basketball. And no shade on Steve Kerr whatsoever for another reason. The man was a champion before he got to Golden State. He was a champion as a player in Chicago. He was a champion as a player in San Antonio. And if Tom Thibodeau had listened to him, if Mike D'Antoni had listened to him and allowed Tom Thibodeau to come to Phoenix and be the defensive coordinator when Steve Kerr was running basketball operations in Phoenix, Phoenix might have won the title one year with Amari Stoudemire and the Matrix, Sean Marion, and Steve Nash and all of those brothers. They might have done it, but it didn't happen. I say all of that to say ain't no problem. Nobody's trying to throw any shade on Steve Kerr whatsoever. But there's something to be said about somebody teaching you how to crawl and walk before you ultimately learn to run and sprint. And that is what Mark Jackson did. For a lot of other people, it would have been enough to get another job. But for somehow, some way, for some reason, Mark Jackson gets ostracized. It really pisses me off. It really does. Because it's grotesquely unfair. This man, 98 and 66, his last 2 seasons coaching in Golden Florida State 2012 to 2014 and can't get another job all of these years? Really? But nobody wants to bring that up. Because every time he comes close, it could be Sacramento, it could be New York, it could be somewhere. There's always some damn rumor that's coming out. Did it ever occur to some of you people out there? What if people like myself and others who covered the NBA for the last quarter century started putting out the rumors that are out there about other people? Ladies and gentlemen, I know people who've been accused of some unsavory things that are working in professional basketball. I know somebody that was fired. I take that back. I know several people who were fired for having adulterous affairs. And somebody grabbed them and gives them life and ultimately elevate them. I know people that are working in professional sports right now that have been accused of some of the most egregious things that were unlawful, that harmed other human beings. And they've been on camera talking to y'all, and y'all have no idea about them, but we do. By we, I mean those of us who cover the league. I'm getting sick and damn tired.
Yeah, I want to stop it right here. We'll stop it right here. But yeah, did you hear that part about, I know people who have hurt other people and blah, blah, blah? Well, you know, I don't want to put this out there, but if you do a little research about, for instance, Malika Andrews, when she was younger, you know, apparently she put stuff out there that wasn't true about a classmate / friend or supposed friend of hers that got that young man in trouble, right? Remember when the whole Maya Doka thing dropped and Stephen A. Smith was very, very pissed off at the fact that you had people on TV who were condemning Maya Doka, who themselves, unbeknownst to viewers, had adulterous affairs and were given, like he said, new light by the network they were now employed with, or they got a second and third chance after numerous infractions. That's why Stephen A. Smith was really irritated by that shit. Like, look at these hypocritical lying motherfuckers. That's why I am the way I am toward the media, because I think a lot of these. Now look, I'm not giving Stephen A. Smith a pass because I think he's done some shady things, obviously. But in this situation, he's 100% correct. I don't understand why Mark Jackson, every time that he's given a position, he's in a position to get a job finally in the NBA, a head coaching position, there's always, you know, these things coming out, these reports that coincide, that make him look bad, and it gives the organization justification for not hiring him. It happened recently, just as recently with the Milwaukee Bucks opening. He was interviewed for that. Then you start seeing some rehashing of old, supposed, you know, bad behavior by him or whatever. I have my theories as to what's hurting Mark Jackson, you know, but it is what it is. It's unfair, and I'm glad that Stephen A. Smith, someone of his stature, stepped up and finally said something about it, because it don't make any damn sense. It don't make any damn sense, you know. A lot of this stuff is politics and it's BS. But anyway, tell me what you guys think.